It is a few minutes before 8 o'clock on the morning of the 7th of December, 1941, and it is, so far, the most beautiful morning you have ever woken up to. You are a sailor aboard a battleship moored along a stretch of water they call Battleship Row on the island of Oahu, in a place most people back home can't even find on a map. And the air is warm and soft and smells of salt and coffee and frying eggs. Palm trees line the shore. The water in the harbour is flat and glassy, a perfect mirror for a sky that is turning from pink to gold. A church bell is ringing somewhere on the base. Men are shuffling out of their bunks in undershirts, yawning, joking, some already up on deck in their whites getting ready for the morning colours, when the flag goes up at 8 sharp. You are thinking about breakfast. You are thinking about the letter you owe your mother. You are thinking that Sunday in Hawaii is about as close to heaven as a poor kid from a small town is ever going to get. You are not thinking about war, because the war is on the other side of the world, in Europe, in China, in places that feel like rumours. Nobody told you the war was coming here. Nobody thought it could. And that is exactly why, in about 3 minutes, you are going to be one of the least prepared human beings on the face of the earth for what is about to happen to you. You hear the planes first, and you don't even look up, because planes are normal here. The sky is always full of them, hours coming and going from the airfields all day long. So when you catch the drone of engines getting louder, low and fast over the mountains, your brain files it away as nothing. Somebody's flying awful low this morning, you think, and maybe you shade your eyes and squint at them for half a second. And that's half a second is when the morning ends, because the planes are peeling off now, dropping toward the water, and there are meatball red circles painted on their wings, and one of them is coming straight down the row, and something long and dark falls from its belly and hits the water with a splash and starts running just under the surface, straight toward the ship, 2 down from yours. A thin silver line drawn across the mirror, and you are still standing there, trying to make sense of it, still telling yourself this must be a drill, an exercise, some kind of mistake when the torpedo hits and the whole world jumps. The sound is not a sound, it is a physical blow, a wall of pressure that slaps you in the chest and rings your skull like a bell, and the great steel ship beside you, 40,000 tons of it, actually lifts and shudders in the water, and a column of oil and flame and water climbs into that beautiful sky. And now everyone is screaming, and the loudspeakers are crackling to life all across the harbour, with the same disbelieving voice repeating the words that will be burned into the memory of every man who lives through this day. Air raid, Pearl Harbor, this is not a drill. This is not a drill. And you understand, in the pit of your stomach, all at once, that the safest place you have ever known has just become the most dangerous place on earth. And there is nowhere to run, because you are on a ship, in a harbour, hemmed in on every side. A fat grey target sitting in flat water, while the sky fills up with men who have crossed an entire ocean for the sole purpose of killing you. You run for your battle station because that is what the drills drilled into you, your body moving before your mind has caught up, feet pounding across a deck that is suddenly crowded with running men and thick with smoke. The whole row is under attack now, ship after ship, and the torpedo bombers are coming in, so low you can see the faces of the pilots, and behind them the dive bombers are screaming. Down out of the sun, with a sound like the sky being torn open, and the bombs are falling, and every few seconds another one finds a ship, and the concussion knocks men flat and rains debris across the water. There is no cover. You grab for a gun, any gun, but half the ammunition is locked away, because it is Sunday, it is peacetime, nobody thought you would need it, and the officers are screaming for the keys, and men are prying open lockers with their bare hands. And the anti-aircraft guns that do get manned are firing wild into a sky so full of enemy planes you couldn't miss if you tried, and still they keep coming. And then the bomb finds you, not your ship, if you are lucky, but close enough. A dive bomber puts an armor-piercing bomb straight through the deck of the battleship ahead of you, down through the layers of steel, deep into the forward magazine where 1,000,000 pounds of gunpowder is stored. And for one impossible instant, the entire ship seems to pause, and then it detonates. The explosion is so enormous that it is not really an explosion anymore. It is an event, a physical erasure, a fireball that rises hundreds of feet and turns the morning black, and the shockwave crosses the water and hits you like the hand of God and throws you off your feet. And 1,000 men who were alive 1 second ago are simply gone. And burning oil begins to spread across the surface of the harbour in a sheet of fire. And men are jumping from the decks of dying ships into water that is itself on fire, choosing to drown in flame rather than burn where they stand. Your own ship is hit now, more than once, and she is starting to list, tilting slowly under your feet like the whole world is being turned on its side. And this is the part that no drill ever prepared you for, because a battleship rolling over does not sink like a stone. It turns, slowly, ponderously, and the men trapped below deck are still down there in the dark, in the passageways, and the water is coming in through the torpedo holes in a black rushing flood, and the lights are out, and the ship is turning upside down around them, so that up becomes sideways, becomes down. And they cannot find the ladders anymore, cannot find the hatches, are pounding on the hull from the inside with wrenches and fists in a code that men on the outside can hear for hours, for days. Tapping, tapping, still alive in air pockets inside a capsized tomb. And there is nothing, nothing at all that anyone can do to reach them in time. If you are on deck when she rolls, you have seconds to decide, and the deck is now a cliff. And below you is a harbour turned to fire and oil and wreckage and the bobbing heads of men already in the water. And behind you is a ship that is trying to take you down with it. And you jump, because there is no other choice. And you hit the water and the oil coats you instantly, thick and black and choking, filling your mouth, stinging your eyes blind. And you have to swim through it while patches of it are burning, holding your breath, coming up only where there is a gap in the flames, and the planes are still strafing the water, still coming, machine guns stitching lines of little splashes across the harbour, hunting the swimmers, and you are one small oil-slicked head among hundreds, and whether the next line of bullets finds you or the man beside you is not something your training decided, or your courage, or anything you did right or wrong. It is simply where you happen to be swimming. And here is the cruelest truth of all, the one that makes this different from a battle you march into. The men who died at Pearl Harbor in those first 10 minutes did not fall charging an enemy. They died in their bunks, in the showers, at the breakfast table, standing at attention for morning colors in their clean white uniforms. They died half asleep and completely surprised in the one place on earth they had been told was safe, on a lazy Sunday morning with coffee still warm in the cups. More than 2,000 of them were gone before most of the country had even finished breakfast, before the radios had said a word, before anyone at home knew that the world had just changed forever. And the ones who lived did not live because they were stronger or braver than the ones who didn't. They lived because a torpedo ran 10 feet to the left, because they were on the far side of a bulkhead when the bomb came through, because they swam toward the gap in the fire instead of into it, because of luck, pure and merciless and blind. So when someone asks whether you would survive the first 10 minutes of a Pearl Harbor, understand that the question isn't really about you at all. Those men were not soldiers braced for combat. They were you, exactly you, a young person who woke up on a beautiful morning with their whole ordinary life ahead of them and no reason on earth to think this would be the day it ended. They had no warning. They had no cover. They had, most of them, No chance to fire a single shot before the sky fell on them. You would not have seen it coming any more than they did, because the whole horror of that morning was that it was unthinkable, right? Up until the second it happened, you would have looked up at those low planes and told yourself it was nothing, just like they did. And the honest answer, the one those 2,000 men would tell you if they could, is that surviving Pearl Harbor was never about being ready. Nobody was ready. It was about where you were standing when the first bomb fell, and almost none of that was ever yours to decide.